Hello and welcome. It's Matthew David, the Minister of Allowing, and you are live. If you're here joining me, give me a shout out and let me know you're tuning in, so I can see who's. Let me know you can hear me. Let me know you're live. That you didn't get, you didn't catch some virus or some crazy stuff like that. All this nonsense going on out there. It's a bunch of nonsense. Anyway, let's see what we got going on here. I'm trying to find the. Hey, Casper. There we go. Casper's here. Hold on. I got let's see what we got going on here. We got Randy Weiss. So I'm going to talk about joy tonight. You guys are going to like this. I'm going to take you down a little bit of memory lane. Welcome, Bobby. And I decided I'm going to go back to some of the fundamentals, because here's the deal. If you guys want to go deep, I can go deep. I can talk about esoteric wisdom and go into the, Gnostic gospels and all sorts of crazy things. But let's be practical and let's be functional. It's kind of like when I go to the gym, there's like 3 real main lifts. There's like bench press, there's squat and deadlift, and then there's all kinds of extra lifts that I can add on and doing crazy stuff. But as long as I get in my 3 main things, then I can build on top of all that. So I'm going to talk about the prosperity that you can get in as the main thing, and you can build on top of all of it. And prosperity isn't just money. It's all good things. Prosperity includes healthy relationships, a healthy body. It includes joy. And joy, now get this. Welcome, Manisha, by the way, and Asta and Braden. I want to tell you guys something, right? So joy is the strength, of the Lord. And what is God trying to do? He's trying to show himself strong on behalf of those who believe in him. So imagine this. I'm looking into the screen right now. Now imagine if I'm the deity, right? And I'm looking at this guy in the screen. And I want to show myself strong. Pay attention. You need to see this for yourself. You can't unsee it once I show it to you. If I'm God and I'm saying I'm going to show myself strong on behalf of those who trust in me. Well, what is a trust? The trust is a contract. It means that we are in agreement. Well, if this is reflecting joy back to God, we're in a contract. If you just had an aha moment, give me a big amen on the screen, okay? Because here's the deal. If joy is the strength of the Lord, strength, the right hand of the Father, the might, the undeniable force of divine love, joy is the strength of this. You're made in the image and likeness of God. So imagine you're the reflection of God. If you reflect joy, then you are in a trust contract agreement with the might of God, the Father, strength, will of divine love itself. Can I get an amen for real, though? Because I've just taught you more in about 1 minute than I probably learned in my first 10 years of studying the Bible. Now, it's crazy how you could study for so long and not ever see it, but once you see it, you can never unsee it. Now that you know, you can never unknow. Now it's up to you to actually go do it. Take care. Have a good night, guys. I'm out. Just kidding. But it could have been like that. I could have just said, but I want to tell you some stories. I want to drive it home because it's a point and then a story, because if I don't tell you a story, I can't relate to that deeper part of your mind that you insert yourself into so you can see yourself in the picture. So I got to tell you a story. Now, the good news is I don't have to make up a story. I can tell you a true story, and that's why this is a proven talk tonight. So, Dawn, welcome. Welcome, Ingo. Welcome, Casey. And Amy's here. Good to see you, Amy. Anisha, Kevin. All right, guys. So there I was in 2009. I was fresh out of the gym. Okay. Now, when I mean fresh out of the gym, I was like, fitness was everything to me. I love fitness. But then something mysterious happened. I got Lyme disease. You know the story. And if you don't, then text the word allow to the number on the screen. Let me give you the screen number. So if you don't know my story, I'm going to give you a chance to get this as the backstory. So the best thing you can do is just go to my website. It's on the screen right now. And you can read my book, Allow, text in Allow to 608-530-6658. So I was bedridden and bankrupt with Lyme disease. Okay. You can see this right here. I'm about 190 pounds frame. I'm pretty solid and I'm somewhat lean. Now, can you take off 40 some pounds off this frame and imagine what I look like then? You probably can't imagine that, but I'm going to show it to you. I was really sick. Life sucked because I had Lyme disease. I was bankrupt. I didn't have money, none. I didn't have influence. I didn't have business skills. I didn't go to college, okay? There wasn't much going on in my life to truly look into the future and say, wow, you're going to become something. You're going to be happy. No. That wasn't how this plays out, okay? So welcome, Mitchell. Welcome, Sasha and Dawn. So how this plays out is, here's a guy that lost everything. He's 140, 150 pounds on a good day, barely can walk, doesn't have any money, and all the doctors say they can't do anything more for him. He might as well just suck it up, right? And here's an anti-anxiety because you're having constant PTSD and all these other problems. Take this. Okay. You know the sob story. I don't need to sob and tell you all these sob stories, okay? I'm not here to try to get I don't need your poor me. I don't need none of that stuff, okay? And neither do you. So my mentor comes along and he tells me this. He says, you need to ask and answer the question, what is the fastest path to your joy in every moment, regardless of the fallout? And I'm thinking, well, regardless of the fallout, it's not really that big of a deal because it already fell out. So for you listening to me right now, your fallout might be, well, I can't really do that because if I follow fast past my joy, I could lose my job. I could lose my whatever you think you got going on. Okay. I understand. That's fear. When you think you're holding on to something, you're actually restricting yourself from growth. That's what's really happening. Whenever you think you're holding on to something, you're inhibiting the flow of life. Talk more about that in a little bit. So here's what I want to do, a little timeout. Let's do a timeout and let me just break down a little bit of an idea for you, and then we'll get back in the story real quick. So here's an idea to consider. The world that you see out there with your lying eyes is not there. It's a dead carcass. It's 99.99997% empty space. So what you think you're holding on to is not even actually there. You're actually living inside of what they call human reasoning. And reasoning is of the devil. So what you're doing is you are living inside an artificial matrix, a construct of your mind. And it is actually an imposed limitation on your spiritual development. And it's being held in prism walls of fear, doubt, and disbelief. And while you're sitting inside of that little box, you're asking yourself, how do I get out of this box and become what I've always wanted to become? The years have passed by and I haven't achieved anything extraordinary. Maybe you have. Maybe you have. But what I'm telling you right now is when you are stuck and you haven't broken through a certain level, it's because you don't know what you don't know. That's why you don't have what you don't have. So if you're calculating with what you know, you're never going to get anything that is outside of the known in what is called the unknown. You're never going to escape this box of reasoning and get out here. So there I was in this box of sickness. And my mentor says, ask and answer the question, what is the fastest path to my joy in this moment, regardless of the fallout? Every time without failure or exception. And I said, now, why in the hell would I do that? And he said, because that is the compass north. That is what undoes all of this sickness. Now, my blessing was my curse, and my curse was my blessing. So because I had nothing to lose, I embraced it. So what do you think happened when I embraced it? Well, first, I'll tell you how I embraced it so you can understand the mechanics of how to apply this. So we have Sasha's here. We have Braden, Sabrina, Andrea, and Ryan. Welcome to the party. Glad you guys could make it. Well, there I was in a farmhouse that was 120 plus years old, box elder bugs crawling on me. Yeah. What is the fastest path to my joy in this moment? Okay, I'm going to go get some coffee and go on Facebook. So I got some coffee and I'm going on Facebook. Well, meanwhile, nothing's really happening. My world's not being set on fire. So I'm done with that. What's the fastest path to my joy? Well, I want to go play guitar. Great. Now I'm playing guitar about 3 hours a day. Got no job, got no income. I'm 31 years old, 32 years old at the time almost. Yeah, this is awesome. So I'm playing my guitar 3 to 5 hours a day and having coffee and doing Facebook, going for a walk around the block. And that's all I'm focusing on. That's it. That's it. What is the fastest path to my joy in this moment? That's all I'm focusing on. Every segment of the day, I'm refocusing, asking and answering the question, and taking that particular answer. The highest path that I can grab for, that's available to me, I'm taking it. Because he said, regardless of the fallout. Now, the fallout happened to look like this. People looking at me, shaking their head, saying, what a loser. He doesn't even want to work. There's nothing wrong with him. They're looking at me. I might be skinny, but they're saying there's nothing wrong with him. And I'm even getting threatened to get kicked out of the house to the point where I actually do get kicked out of the house. And I'm still crazy enough to follow the fastest path to my joy. Well, then I get this idea. Okay, I need to come up with money to pay this rent because nobody's willing to let me live anywhere for free anymore. Well, I've been playing this guitar 5 hours every day. What if I sell guitars? I had this idea. Boom, popped in my head. I'm in a state of joy playing my guitar, and this idea popped in my head. I repeat, I'm in a state of joy, cause, consequence, and then an idea pops in my head. Why don't I sell guitars? So then I'm sitting there thinking about that idea, and I let it go. I play my guitar some more, and then I know exactly what to do. Never done it before, but somehow I just know exactly what to do. I'm in a state of joy, cause, consequence. The idea stream of thought continues to reveal its secrets to me, and it tells me what to do. I'm getting a download. Okay. I'm going to lowball people about 20 times a day on selling these mid-range guitars that I'm so accustomed to, $300 to $500 price points, and see if I can get somebody to sell me one, and then I'll just resell it. Lo and behold, my first day, I get somebody to sell me one for about $150 less than what I think it's worth. Now, figuring it out the hard way, I ordered the guitar, had it come to me, I resold it, shipped it out the next couple of days, made $120, whatever. Okay, cool. So I do it one more time, but this time another idea comes and says, hey, don't even take shipment of the guitar. Just tell them that you're not ready to ship it yet. Tell them to hold on to it. Take the same exact listing, repost it on eBay 5 seconds later, and resell it at a higher price. So I'm doing this multiple times now. I'm getting deals, and I'm not even touching the shipping. I'm not touching the guitar. I'm having them ship it somewhere else for me on my behalf. And I make my first like $800 month. And to me, that's like the jackpot of all jackpots because I hadn't made money in a long time. So the fact that I was able to actually get an idea that actually turned into something valuable was a very pivotal moment. Okay. Pivotal moment. Now I want you to see this for what it is. Here I was for a year and a half, almost 2 years with this Lyme disease thing, trying ideas left and right, out of necessity, out of need, following what I think is being responsible. So I'm in a state of being a little bit frantic. Cause and consequence is I'm getting all kinds of ideas. People telling me what to do, business opportunities, and none of them are making any money. None of them. So I'm constantly failing left and right. Are you guys starting to see a pattern? If you're starting to see a pattern, say, I see you. Put it on the board. I see you. So welcome, Ruth. Welcome, Mikkel. Welcome, Mary and Bruce, Sergio. All right. So things are starting to change, right? Cause and consequence. Whatever state I seem to be in seems to be determining what quality of ideas are coming to me. So let me break it down like this. I'm in a state for a year and a half in this little box. And my state is of fear and worry and anxiety every single day because I'm focused on disease and then trying to solve a disease. Therefore, I'm still focused on a disease. And since I'm in a disease state of being, I'm getting ideas and attitudes and things that are corresponding to that disease and creating more disease. But I'm trying so hard and I'm bankrupting Sabrina's credit cards in the process. And I've already burned through all mine. So I'm moving on to hers now. And, then, I'm doing my fastest path to my joy. And at first it looks severely irresponsible. Now I've gone way off the deep end. Now I'm no longer responsible. At least before I seem to be responsible. I care so much. I'm trying my hardest. Well, now I just don't care, apparently, to all people looking at me. They're like, he's just going to play his guitar. This guy is crazy. He's not even going to care. He's going to play his guitar. Okay. So then I'm going to ask for more money. And I'm going to ask Serena for more money. And she's dumb enough to give it to me, apparently. So she gives me the money and I buy a guitar. And she's thinking, okay, you just bought another guitar. Like, I don't know what to do with you. You're crazy. But then I sell it and then I make money. Something changed. It was my attitude towards life. I repeat, it was my attitude towards life. That's what changed. So the next thing that happens is then, I start to parlay and I create a tea company. And, the reason why I created the tea company is because I'm going a mile away to a Tibetan doctor who's given me a tea blend. And I thought, well, let's create an online company and sell a product. And, my mentor at the time was encouraging me to do a tea company. He said, call it Tales of Tea. And then he's laughing. He's like, why don't you just call it the Bad Mother Effer Tea? And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. And he's kidding. He's kind of kidding. And I take it seriously. So I did it. I started the Bad Mother Effer Tea. Well, I get that all up and running with some of the profits I've made. And, I'm selling a couple units here and there, like to local people, but nothing spectacular. So nothing really happens with that. I kind of just enjoyed creating it. But what it was doing is it was prepping me to learn how to create companies and how to create products. And so then I decide, what is the fastest path to my joy in this moment? Well, I'm not really interested in sitting on Facebook all day, every day anymore. I've kind of outgrown that. I want to be around people. I want to be productive. I want to be valuable in society. I want to do something. So then I say, I'm going to do a job. I'm going to get out and do something. I'm going to take my life back. So then there's 2 jobs. I have 2 jobs available to me. I get an opportunity to work at a smoothie bar for $7.50 an hour. Now, it takes me an hour and 15 minutes to get from the farmhouse to the job. Okay. First of all, I got to go to training for a week. That takes 2.5 hours to get there. And I don't get paid for training and I have no money. So I'm going to have to borrow money to go to training for a week, driving 3 hours each day or more, 4 hours. Okay. Maybe even closer to 5 with all the traffic that I had. It was bad. Okay. So then I'm going to get $7 an hour on top of it, plus commissions, with whatever that means. It's a smoothie bar. Then I have another job opportunity, sell windows and siding. So the windows and siding opportunity, they're pumping my head full of, big numbers. They're like, if you can sell, we're going to get you $80,000 a year. And they're pumping my head full of this. I'm getting kind of excited. He comes in, and I don't have a pen, but he brings the pen. He does the Dan Locke on me. He gives me the pen, and he says, listen, I'm going to walk out of this room. He's this, he actually was a mobster, okay? That's another story altogether. But he goes, I'm going to walk out of this room. I'm going to come back. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. And when I come back, you're going to sell me this pen. And if you're good, I'll train you. And if you're not, then you can go. And I'm like, great. So then he leaves, and I'm thinking about, I used to sell vacuums, and I used to have to knock on doors. And I was actually the #1 vacuum distributor in the whole state for a while. So I was pretty good at selling. And I come up with this idea. He's overweight, so he comes back. And I sell him on how the pen is going to get him sex, okay? Because I know it's reptilian. I'm telling him, listen, this pen is going to get you a date, and I'll tell you why. And I start to tell him how cool it is because it's actually a weapon. I tell him how you can take a pen and how you can stab people with it and how you can use it as an instrument for self-defense. And I start to tell him how it's going to look so cool when he takes it to the gym and he starts to use it as part of his new lifestyle, and how I paint the whole picture of how it's going to get him, mating privileges. I see that in him. I'm intuitive. I see it in him. I know that's what he wants. He goes, you're really good. He goes, I'm going to hire you. So I'm like, hey, I got a job and it's going to pay me a lot of money. Wow, that's so awesome. Meanwhile, I get back and I talk to my mentor, and my mentor says, you talked about getting this job. Which job did it come down to? And I'm like, well, the smoothie bar is paying $7 an hour plus commissions, and the other job is going to pay, a lot more. He goes, what makes you so sure the other job's going to pay you a lot more? I said, well, it's a large ticket. It's a bigger ticket item. It's this. And, I did good in the training. He goes, which one is the fastest path to your joy? God darn it. I told you not to think of, I told you to ask the question, what's the fast path to your joy? And I'm like, well, the smoothie bar, it's much better. He goes, well, which one you going to do then? And I'm like, dang it. He's right. So I'm going to do the smoothie bar. So welcome, Beverly. By the way, welcome, Christiane. Welcome, June, Ingo. So I take the smoothie bar job and I turn down this other guy. Well, it's not good to turn down people who are as angry as this guy, but his anger did him in. So he actually started threatening me, this guy. He was a mobster. He started telling me that, I trained you for 3-4 days and I'm getting that money back. And if you don't give it back to me, I'm going to find you. And he's threatening me over the phone. And at the time, I tell my mentor's like, oh, don't worry about it. He goes, just keep following the fastest path to your joy. And I'm like, okay. So I did it. And I took the smoothie bar job. And, then I find out just a few weeks later that very next weekend after that guy threatened me, he went to a nightclub in Wisconsin Dells and he roofied some girl, got arrested, and he went to serve 3 years in prison that very next weekend. Now that right there is really, really interesting because there's a lot of ways I could break that down, but the short principle of it is I did not let fear touch my heart, and God fought my battle. So that's a very, very, very unique principle, especially in times like these when you're thinking about a threat that supposedly is coming from out there in the form of some, thing that's going to catch you and make you sick and it's going to do you in. Well, what do you think is going to happen if you have no fear in your heart? I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. Mary Baker Eddy, the founder of Christian Science, tells the story about how she felt somebody was, threatening her. And this guy, sure enough, comes into her office with a gun. But she had uplifted herself into a high state of consciousness. And you know what happened? He walked into that environment. He became frantic and shaking. put his weapon down, and walked right out. Because there is no power stronger in this whole universe than love, because love is the only power in the universe. I repeat, love is the only power in the universe. Don't forget it, because fear will do you in. Fear is the fountain of disease. Now, back to the story. I take the smoothie bar. I'm driving there. I love it. Lo and behold, the sales are going through the roof. The sales are going up. I'm breaking the $1,000 days that store has only seen a couple times in its existence, and I'm breaking them quite regularly. And the reason why is because I love it there. And so since I love it there, I'm reflecting, get this, you need to see this. I'm reflecting love where I'm planted. I am reflecting love where I'm planted. And wherever love is, flourishing takes place. Wherever love is, prosperity takes place. I repeat, wherever love is, prosperity takes place. So prosperity began taking place. Those commissions actually started to work. I started to get a little bit of extra money. Now, it wasn't a lot, but I started to see hope. And then I talked to the owner and I said, I'd like to own one of these one day. And I, envisioned myself. I started to use the ABC break process that I teach. I started to use that process and I envisioned myself owning that place and making a lot of money. Now, it got interesting. It wasn't an actual linear progression. Things took quite a turn because I ended up getting a call from the owner and he said, listen, I'm trying to get out of this place because I want to move out of the area. I have 3 other stores and I'm moving to Colorado. I want to open new ones out there. How much money do you have? And I said, none. I got no money. I got you. I'm like, I work for you. You know how much money I got. And he's like, oh, that's right. He's like, that's right. That's right. So then the reality sets in for him, but he's like, thinking in his mind, probably, well, shoot, he just bankrupted. He can't bankrupt again. So he's like, well, why don't you come over and talk about it? So I go over to his house and sit down and he shows me some numbers. Complete BS, of course. These numbers are complete fabricated nonsense. Well, he says, you know what? For your last paycheck, for that last $300, I'm willing to sign over all the stuff to you. Let you take it over. You're doing so good. You're going to do a great job. So I say, I'm in. Let's do it. So I take over the whole store. I give him my last paycheck. It's all the debts are mine now. And he's thinking, wow, he just took all my debts. And I'm thinking, I got a new store. I've got a new opportunity. I'm so excited. Well, then, what happens? Things start, revealing themselves about the reality of the numbers. The store is really losing about $4,000 a month. Those numbers were completely like a pipe dream. And anyway, I called my mentor and I said, listen, I think I'm in trouble. And he says, yeah. And he goes, well, let me ask you a question. And he says, is it still the fastest path to your joy to be there? I said, I love it. I absolutely love helping people. I love doing this. I love it. It is the fastest path to my joy. He goes, it was failing because of him running it. He goes, you are a different dynamic. He told me just keep following the fastest path to my joy. So I did. So meanwhile, my accountant's telling me, shut it down. It's going to collapse. He's telling me, by the way, go, the franchisor, the guy that owns the franchise, is telling me, go borrow some money. You need to start handing out flyers. You need to start working double time, work all day, all night. He's telling me just to basically go and kill myself to get that thing up and running and borrow money from everybody to bleed it from them. None of that feels good. None of that's a fast path to my joy. So I lock the front door, go in the back room, play the guitar again. Again, I'm going back to playing the guitar, which seems to be a theme in my life. And maybe I need to tell myself to go play guitar again because it seems to be the one thing that brings me to a state of joy. So I go play the guitar and I'm doing my joy again. Well, guess what? I'm doing the ABC break process. I'm using the techniques and I'm doing the joy and I get another idea. Cause, joy, consequence, divine idea. That idea tells me what to do. I get an aha moment. I execute that moment. So you might not have seen this. Not many people have actually seen this. I looked up the Wayback Machine so I could show it to you if I can find it. I want to pull it up if I can find it on here and show you exactly what I did. So this right here is a newer version of the original site I built. Let's see, is it, there we go. Let's pop it up right there. So this was the first product line I built. Now you can see the before and after. That's a true story. That was me with Lyme disease. And so my divine idea, you know, that was me when I was starting to get even better. I was at 168 pounds. I originally started at below 150 pounds. So you can see the vast difference in the shape, okay, in the health. That was actually a little bit healthier than my usual self. And then I went up, I put on 37 pounds. I was on these stacks. Obviously, they're banned now. This was stuff from back when Barry Bonds and McGuire were using them all. And they were, you know, able to buy on the market for a while. But I built this page and built this brand. And I had this idea. And I put it online. And it became an overnight success. So that idea came to me in that state. It came to me in the state where I needed to have divine revelation. So let me go ahead and get this off the screen right here. So that's where it all came from. And let's see what we got here. Gregory's here, Angel, and let's see, Patty, Anita, welcome, welcome, welcome. And so that's where a lot of this stuff started to come from. And then I ended up, you know, selling that company, building more companies. And the principle, though, I want to break this down to you. And it is important right here because at my website at MatthewDavidHurtado.com, I want to tell you about that because the mechanics, the fundamentals of prosperity for me have not changed. These are the same prosperity fundamentals for me, so much so that this is what I base my personal website on, is the 3-2-1 prosperity formula. So I do this over and over and over and over and over because it defies human reason at every turn. At every turn, it defies human reason. Now, let's look at it like this. Number 3, I talk about tithing. So tithing is actually giving your money away to where you get your spiritual nourishment, to your pastor, to your minister, to your church, to your place of nourishment spiritually. I cannot tell you how much flack I get from people that think they know so much. They're so wise in their own sight, and yet they disregard thousands of years of recorded history and the morphic field that was created in this covenant, okay? There's a covenant. And if you don't believe in the covenant, then you shouldn't follow my ministry because my ministry is the covenant. I am nothing without the blessing and the grace of God. I have nothing without the blessing and the grace of God. And if you think you do, well, then you're not part of what I teach because I don't teach that at all. You're in the total wrong place because I of myself could accomplish nothing without God. So 3, the tithe, the 10% off the top, the holy money belongs to God, breaks the attachment to this world. I've done several videos on tithing. If you don't know what it is, just scroll down on my website and I'll show you some of my favorite ones that I've done right there when I broke it down quite deep. Number 3, makes no sense to humans. It's totally in direct defiance to human reasoning. Human reasoning is all about get, must accumulate, must survive, must have. And so I came up with this wisdom key. It goes like this. When man is giving, he is receiving. When man is giving, he's actually receiving. The secret to receiving is to not make it about you. It's to give more. To give. Because that's the only way that you can be from the Father above, which is the limitless part. The real part of you is to be in the reflection of the Father. Again, it's this reflection. The Father is always giving the full blessing. So the more you are in alignment with that, the more flows through you. And what flows through you sticks to you. I said what flows through you sticks to you when you have these 2 critical elements. You must have faith and love. When you have faith and love in your giving, Okay. And you might want to throw a little hint of appreciation in there. You will prosper beyond your wildest dreams. Number 2. Now, this is when you start to break the spine of the logical, rational, reasoning mind. Number 2 is non-judgment, forgiveness. If you are constantly judging good and bad, right and wrong, up and down, left, right, making constant judgments, what you're doing is you're creating resistance to the flow of life. And where there is resistance, it's like kinking a hose, and you're going to have a lot less flow coming through you, and it won't be able to come through you and stick to you. You're actually going to create a lot of thinking. See, to be in a flow state, you have to do less thinking, which means a lot less judgment, a lot less reasoning. Because God created all and called it good, so who are you to start calling everything unclean when you are not even remotely authorized to do such thing? Now, that's a whole nother thing all of itself. And I made a video on each one of these so you can master these components. But this 3-2-1 prosperity formula is the bench, squat, and deadlift, or whatever, your main 3 lifts, and everything else is built on top of it. This is like the capstone teaching of everything I've done. That's why it's number 1 on the website, first thing you see, because it's to break the spell of lack, to receive financial increase. And number 1 is, what is the fastest path to my joy in this moment? Again, in direct defiance to human reasoning. Direct defiance. Human reasoning says we have to be responsible. There's a plague on the planet. We need to hide in our caves and be afraid, be very, very afraid. If that's the truth, then you're already dead. Because you're already under the law of sin and death, because you've already broken the covenant. I am a covenant minister. The covenant is the power. The covenant that God put in place for you to remain in the blessing or to turn toward the curse. It's a choice. When you turn away from God, you turn to this world, and this world is a dead carcass. This world is an empty vessel. This world will destroy you because you are created to be in it, but not of it. This world is a schoolmaster, and it is a harsh schoolmaster. And how you enter the world is through human logic and reason, because reason is also fear. Thinking is fear. So fear, confusion, lack of trust, double-minded, and division are the 5 steps to sin. The minute you step into fear, the minute you buy it, you are subject, according to Romans 8, under the law of sin and death. And all of these plagues shall come upon you. You are under the curse of the law the minute you step into fear. Here's another story that perfectly exemplifies this principle. There's a story about a general who his whole army was taken, captive. He had his men, he had like 12 men with him. It wasn't like a whole huge army, but they captured him and his men. And they had them all lined up, and they were executing them one by one, saving him for last. And he kept the love in his heart. He did not bow down to fear for one single minute. They executed every single one of those men. They got to him, looked him straight in the eye, turned away and walked out of the room and left him alive. And I submit to you, if you will not bow down to fear in your heart, just like how I overcame the incurable thing of the Lyme disease. Now, granted, it took me 6 years to overcome the fear. I'll be honest, it wasn't the easiest thing in the world to give up the entire world in my life in general to know that I'm always going to be okay. That wasn't the easiest thing for me. But I did drop the fear altogether. And once I did, then it was so easy to destroy the belief, and my body sprang back into full vitality, spiritualizing the thought, knowing that I'm the reflection of God, a spiritual reality that never had a human bone or a human blood vessel. See, those are all thoughts of men that we perceive with our five senses. Those five senses record all of this data, and they refer us back to it. And that is the law of sin and death. It's always reason and fear. It's just a nonstop schoolmaster. So back to the story. Number one is follow the fastest path to your joy in this moment, regardless of the fallout, which means to disconnect from the reason and the fear. Because the joy is the strength of the Lord. And so if God is looking to show himself strong, it means he wants you to be reflecting joy to this moment now, in every moment, because this moment is the presence of God in every moment, in this moment. So what is the fastest path in this moment? Ask and answer the question and align yourself and receive the blessing. Now, if you overlook the simplicity of this, then you overlook the gospel. The gospel is simple. So with that said, if you want to go deep in this class right here is available at matrixrecode.com. And we're going to go into week 2, but I will show you how to align with the fruits of the Spirit and to find out through your own self-analysis where you have been digging your own demise by your reflected attitude towards life, and you'll be able to see it for yourself. You'll be able to see exactly how you were the cause and the consequence, and every time the crime happened, you were at the scene. It's kind of interesting that way. So that's at matrixrecode.com. That class is going on right now. You can call 888-550-8231 and get involved in that. It's going to go for 2 more weeks. You can watch the replay of week 1. I'm training you how to do this skill that I call the Matrix Recode. That is a huge deep dive into yourself, into the mechanics of how you show up in the world, how you continuously repeat patterns, and how to correct those patterns so that you can be in the image and likeness of God and receive the blessing. And the blessing is rich. It is rich. I'm going to suggest to you as your minister, not your doctor. I'm not here to heal, prevent, treat, cure, diagnose a disease. But I'm saying as your minister, you do not bow down to any of those messages on the media about some so-called plague that's coming after you. You don't bow down and kiss the feet of any of those tormenting spirits, because you are of the Most High, born of the Most High, forever protected in his love, forever held in this covenant. And all you got to do to unlock this covenant is to have absolute trust. And to have a trust means you must be in the reflected image of that Father, that divine love. And this will show you how to get there. Now, if you want to go deep and you want to do some retreat stuff, then definitely come with us to Mount Shasta. Come to Mount Shasta and come to the mountain, okay? In fact, if you come to the mountain, I'll give you the other class for free. I'll give you the class I just talked about, the Matrix Recode, as a gift from my ministry to you. My teaching, 6 hours with you, taking you to a life skill that took me 15 years to discover since I started my spiritual journey. I will give it to you that you can use for life. Come to the mountain, and it won't just be me, but I want you to check out spiritualspecialforces.com. Let me type that in there for you. I want you to check out spiritualspecialforces.com. And I want you to be there. Now, you may be asking, well, why should I be there? Shouldn't I be afraid? Shouldn't I stay home? Isn't it safer to be home? Well, let me ask you this. If you stay home, what's going to change for you in your life? What's going to change? If you come to this event, You're going to sit and learn from Michael Jaco, former U.S. Navy SEAL, SEAL Team 6, and CIA, with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. Now, you don't get to be a Navy SEAL without discovering some pretty extraordinary things within yourself. I'm sorry to tell you this, but you just don't get to do it. It's just one of those things that very, very, very few people are ever in this lifetime going to tap into to discover within themselves. Now, the fact that Michael can teach it is a whole nother story altogether. So should you invest to come learn from him? Well, I know that I do. I know that I find it worthy, but that's up to you. I'll be there and I'll be teaching you. And Ulla Arvid will be there. And this guy is extraordinary. Now, everybody that I'm going to bring to the table for you is going to be people that I look up to, okay? People that I'm learning from. People that I know have the goods to give to you. So he came to a workshop several months ago, learned all my stuff. Everybody loved him. He's a great, incredible guy. And then he goes out, he gets this download, he has this technique, he puts it into application, and you can watch the story here. I interviewed him. And he manifests his dream resort. Okay, it's a 3-story ski resort, like 24, 26 bedrooms, something like that. Now, you know this is going to be a very, very high-ticket item. It was on the cover of one of their finest resort magazines. And he's manifesting high-end coaching clients all day, every day. So if you are a coach, you have a self-employed business, you're looking to manifest more customers and clients, it's the same principle, technique for all of that. He's going to show you his new technique. And now here's a secret. I learned it, and it is, I'm just going to tell you this. It's going to be so simple that it's going to blow your mind, but it is so awesome. If you don't know this technique, I actually feel bad for you. I really do. Because I can't tell it to you. It's not my technique. I'm not going to go on a live stream, and I'm not going to go on my YouTube channel and give away another man's formula. You're going to have to learn it from this man. Now, I convinced him to come to Shasta and to teach it to us in Shasta. So you should be there. And you should watch the interview, if nothing else, and find out what he's going to tell you. So that's all there for you. It's all there. And you can look at some of the stories of people who have come to some of our workshops and some of the breakthroughs that have happened. It's not going to be an indicator of what's going to happen with you. So it's not to impress you. It's just to tell you what you might expect. But the idea here is I want you to ask yourself one question. In these times that we're in right now, is the spiritual path calling you? Yes or no? And if so, and you're listening to me right now, are you really going to let whatever excuse is standing in your way from that logical reasoning mind, if it is the fastest path to your joy to come to this trip, are you going to let that little fallout steal the blessing? Because the difference between how I achieved all of my successes, where I broke the spine of failure, is when I decided that the fastest path to my joy was more credible than the logical fallout reasoning that was being suggested to me. That pivotal movement, that distinction that I made was all the difference in the world. So I want to encourage you to check your heart, because we're going to bring 100 people to the mountain. We're going to explore the best techniques that we've all been able to come up with. We're going to practice them. We're going to use them on the mountain, on that incredible vortex. If you don't know what scalar energy is and you don't know what vortexes are, you should study the work of Ken Rolla and look at what a vortex is and how mountains create them. And also, you should look at some of the secrets of Mount Shasta. Now, what do you think is going to happen when 100 people get together and create an intention for the world? Because what we put out comes back. And we send love to the world. What do you think is going to happen to your life when you leave equipped? If you don't think that you can make at least 10 times what you put into coming to this event, then all I can say is, ye of little faith, ye of little faith. What a pittance life must be if that is the reasoning. What a pittance. I would never, ever allow a little bit of time or money, especially at times like these, stop me from getting out of life what I need to build the legacy that I'm leaving for my children and for anybody who wants to listen to me. Because I don't want to be known as the person who quit just before the finish line. You don't know what you don't know. That's why you don't have what you don't have. And the only way to get it is to come out of your hiding place and to step into life and come and get it. So I'm going to leave you with that. And I'm going to let you check your heart. And I want to see 100 people on this mountain that are dedicated to changing the world, because right now is the time. God told me. Now you might say, oh, God told you. Yeah. Okay, well, let me just tell you the truth here. God did tell me about 1 year ago. I had this idea brewing in my mind that I'm going to build up from Spiritual Millionaire Workshop to clandestine Spiritual Mystic Workshop. And you can go back and check all my videos and everything I've ever said. And then I was going to release Spiritual Special Forces, because God told me. I don't question God. I said, yes, God, and amen. And God said he would bring me the finest to build the finest team. Do I need to go back? I think I need to go back, because I'm still in shock here. Because look at this. Let me just show you this. God told me a year ago, the name and everything. He said, you're going to go from Spiritual Millionaire Workshop to clandestine Spiritual Mystic. And that was all about remote influencing and remote viewing. Okay. Jumped into that workshop, started learning it. And then between that workshop and Spiritual Special Forces, got to meet Michael Jaco. Michael Jaco is the epitome of that training. And now we have Spiritual Special Forces. You have the opportunity to be part of the Spiritual Special Forces team. Ula Arvid came to my workshop, Spiritual Millionaire. Decided to be part of Spiritual Special Forces. This is extraordinary. These are extraordinary times. And you got to think beyond the immediate. And you got to think in terms of the big picture, because the big picture is so much bigger than even I see at this moment, because God only gives me the nuggets and it all comes to pass. When you listen, God guides, God leads. So I invite you to listen. And listen, I want to leave you with this. When man thinks he is giving, he is receiving. I know it to be true. I know it in my heart. When I broke the sacred tent and I gave my finances to God and put God in charge of this business, of this life, God made things happen that I couldn't make happen. I am not smart enough to make those things happen. But God is beyond. It's called being humble. God exalts. You don't exalt yourself, God exalts. So if that is a principle, if man thinks he's giving, he's receiving, how screwed up do you think the rest of the computer programming going on between your ears actually is? Because everything we were taught to believe is pretty much backwards. So when they say don't go travel, guess what I'm going to do? Everything. It's like a buying market right now. When there's blood in the streets, that's when you buy it all up. And like Robert David Steele said in his latest interview, he said he would go to China and he would tongue kiss a woman with the virus to prove that he is committed because he has no fear of it. Why? Well, he has his own reasons. I have different reasons. My reasons don't need to go out and prove anything to anybody, but I have no fear of living in a world of God's kingdom as a spiritual reflection of God when God never gave me any indication that he changed. God never changed. I'm living in the covenant. The covenant is forever intact. Forever intact. And someone challenged me today on my YouTube. He said, wow, all that tithing is old stuff, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, you're trying to discredit all my mentors in my lineage. I understand. So Dr. Mike Murdoch, Kenneth Copeland, Edwin Gaines, Catherine Ponder, everybody I learned from, all prosperous, way more prosperous than the person trying to allege that this is baloney. And I say, what makes you think you're so smart? What makes you think you're so smart? You see, if God created the covenant and then took away the covenant, then we're all screwed. So you have a choice. You either going to believe that God is, and outside of God, there is none other, and you live inside the covenant, and you're going to be obedient to the covenant, or you're going to have to go follow some other doctrine. And that doctrine is not what you're going to hear me teach, because I'm not going to practice it, because that doctrine is going to lead you to the law of sin and death. And that doctrine is way too dangerous in times like these, because the curse is here, and so is the blessing. And I'm going to step in the blessing, and I invite you to come to the blessing, because it's going to be a blessing. All right. I've done enough talking for the night. We've gone a full hour. I want to tell you guys, God bless. Stay tuned. I'll see you next week. Same time. Take care.